So it's currently 1:47 a.m., which is about normal time for me, I guess, nowadays. But I decided to watch through The Passion of the Christ. Um, I like movies. My brother is more so a big movie nerd, and he's kind of helped me appreciate more the art of filmmaking and this very unique um, method of storytelling that we have access to. And movies are really cool and really magical. And there's just something that movies do for people, including myself, that, just can't be done in books or even TV. Is different from movies. And I've really grown to appreciate movies a lot over the past few years. I've been watching a lot of movies, especially movies that are considered classics or that people always recommend that, I've never actually watched. One of those being The Passion of the Christ. Um, so let me preface this by saying I am a Christian. Um, I have grown up in church my whole life. The very next Sunday that I was out of the hospital for my birth, I was in church, and I haven't missed a Sunday since. Um, and a lot of that is my own choice, but certainly some influence from my parents. My father is a worship pastor and has been my whole life, and of course longer than that. And he's genuinely the most inspiring person I know. Just an incredible example of what a Christ follower should be, what a minister should be. He just lives that life. And I've had such incredible mentors throughout my life that have encouraged me throughout my Christian walk, but also just, in the world as I, grow up and become my own individual person. Anyway, all that to say is that I know the story and I know the importance. It is literally the purpose of life that is the gospel and the power of it, that Jesus came and he died and he rose so that we can be with him forever. And that is the reason that we are here, right? And so this is a very important story. And when you deal with such an important story, you definitely don't want to get it wrong. And the Passion of the Christ is not perfect. Of course it's not, right? But I think its imperfections are mostly not as important to the movie as a whole. It's not completely biblically accurate. The movie's in Latin, I believe, and obviously they didn't speak that. Actually, the recording that I saw didn't even have subtitles or captions or anything. So I actually don't know anything said in the movie other than the parts that I can tell were just, the verse from scripture, basically verbatim. Um, but, we're not here to talk about historical accuracies and whatnot. It's a whole different video, and there's plenty of them out there. I just want to talk about how I feel about this movie. This has been a very long intro. I just kind of turned on the camera because I don't know how to write down what I feel. I just need to kind of express it. About an hour into the movie, I wanted it to be over. And when I say that, I don't mean like it was bad. And I just, the feelings that I was feeling, the emotions that this film evokes are very difficult. It's a very evocative movie. And to its credit, that was the objective. It wants to make you feel every single step of pain that process was, what it looked like, what it sounded like, what it felt like. And the movie does a very good job of doing that. It's not something that anyone can just sit through and watch. I did make it through. Oh, I did turn it off as soon as the credits started rolling because I just wanted to be done with it. And I mean, the main reason is, of course, that it it actually hurts to watch in a lot of ways. And who can blame me? If you haven't seen the movie, I don't think it's one I would recommend, but it's essentially just a visualization of the most brutal and torturous and merciless death in recorded history. And it is in very vivid and graphic detail. It is not something that you should watch just because. It's not something that I would recommend children see, not something I'd recommend a lot of adults see. If you're squeamish about blood or any kind of torture or just pain in general, I mean, I just cannot recommend this movie. Um, would I recommend this movie to anybody? I don't think so. Um, this movie has, like I said, I've grown up in church, and this movie is a very popular one amongst Christians. Um, and I suppose, the time that it came out, there wasn't really anything this direct put to film about the Bible, about Jesus and his crucifixion specifically, and there necessarily hasn't necessarily been many more like it since. So it is truly a very unique film, and it tells, again, the most important story ever. And though it is just a sliver of it, the most painful sliver of it, um, it it still is important. And this movie was probably very impactful and important for a lot of people who watched it, Christians especially. Again, if you know the story, you feel every part of this movie on a deeper level. But, like I said, growing up, um, this was the R-rated movie that children of Christian parents and families were allowed to see. It was always, you're not allowed to play M-rated games, not even really T-rated games. Can't watch Power Rangers or Pokemon or SpongeBob. Can't read Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or play Dungeons and Dragons. But if you want, we can watch a man be brutally tortured live on film for 2 hours in a language we don't understand. Um, wow, golly gee, Dad, I don't know if I'd want to do anything else. I don't know. Like I said, I never watched it growing up, but a lot of my friends did, especially those in Christian homeschool groups and private schools where this was played in classrooms. And again, I just don't know if I could ever recommend something like that. I don't know how I feel about this movie, to be honest. Um, I don't know if I hate it, if I think that it's really great at what it does, if I should respect it, if I should just accept that I don't understand it, or accept that I do. I don't know where to go with it. But one thing I did not like about the movie for sure, and I can say this with certainty as a music major and someone aspiring to compose music and who really studies closely film score, the greats like John Williams and Hans Zimmer, etc. and whatnot. The score for this movie, which I didn't even look up who it's by. Let me do that real quick, actually. John Debney does the original score, composed it. I can't say I'm familiar with the name or his work, but I had to be honest, the score for this movie was not good. And again, as someone who music is my passion, truly, and it's the main thing that I pay attention to, especially when watching movies, And especially when I couldn't understand the words because I had no subtitles, all I was really paying attention to was the music. And it's really boring. I mean, the entire movie is Middle Eastern vocals and angelic strings or horns and woodwinds, and then half the time there's intense drumming, and the other half it's just ethereal. And it literally just feels like the same track is being played throughout the whole movie. It just kind of remixes every 5 minutes, I guess. And it really it made the movie feel a lot longer for me, and did not help me cope with any of the evocative emotions the movie was portraying. Yeah, I that's pretty much all I have to say about the score. I just didn't really care for it, and which is really depressing because, I mean, to me, like, music is truly how I express myself, and honestly, I see God in His glory and His love and power and majesty through music. And you would think that a movie about the most important act of surrender and sacrifice and love would make you feel that way through the music, but it really just doesn't go that way. I think my favorite part of the movie, I guess, is the part where I actually really just cried, and that's after Jesus is horribly flogged, and he's dragged off, and Mary, who is Jesus' mother, goes to where he was beaten, and of course, the brick is just splattered with blood, and she takes these clean towels that were given to her by, I suppose, Pilate's wife, and just starts cleaning up the blood from the dirty bricks. And I don't know what it was about just seeing a mother clean up her son's blood after watching him bleed it. It just, that's a very tough image, you know? Again, like I said, I just kind of turn on the camera. I don't really know what I think about the movie. If I had to give it a rating, I would give it 2 stars, and mostly because I just don't know if I really do like it or hate it. But I'm not going to watch again to find out. I really would prefer to never see this movie again. And like I said, I don't think I would recommend it to anybody. If you want to know or experience the story of Jesus Christ, and his sacrifice, then the only thing I can recommend is to read it. And not to be the book nerd, but the book is way better than the movie. And though obviously the book does not describe intense detail explicitly, the more that you look into this book, and specifically this story within it, you will learn the context of it and find out that it is really this brutal, and this brutality is described in this book, but it is only there for those who can understand the brutality of it, if that makes sense. My point is Jesus taught us to have faith like a child. A child does not have to see a man brutally tortured and maimed and beaten and killed for 2 hours to believe that Jesus suffered for us. Because that's not the point of the story. If it was the point, it would have been written down for us so that everyone can understand. But what is the point is why he did it. I want to wrap up this recording video. I don't know if I'm going to post this or send this anywhere, but I just want to wrap it up with saying thank you for watching. This is a very strange video, I know, and probably not one that is going to be super entertaining. Um, it'll be controversial, I already know. This movie itself is fairly controversial. If you like this movie, that doesn't make you a bad person. We can disagree. After all, it's art, and art is subjective, right? And so, just because I don't super adore this portrayal of Jesus and his story, I can still appreciate it, and still understand those who love it much more than I do. I'm going to go lay down and repent of my sins again, and reread the Gospels, I guess. I mean, yeah, but this movie is very evocative. Is there anything else I want to say?